Well, hello there, and welcome back into the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. My name is Sam Hind, and today I am really excited to be introducing you to not one, but two very special guests. Today, we're going to be joined by Steve Wiltshire and Mandy Mitchell. Now, the reason I'm pulling these two amazing individuals in to speak to you all is because Steve is an international trainer focusing on mindset to help people in the direct selling, MLM, party planner, network marketing industries to further themselves and to grow up top leaders. Now, the thing I love about Steve is he's been in this industry as an entrepreneur since he was 17. And this is something I can really resonate with, being in the industry myself from just 14 years old. So I love everything that Steve speaks about. I love the fact that he is so passionate about not only growing a successful business for himself, but most importantly about helping others to do exactly that. Steve gives so much amazing information during this episode, and I know that you are going to be inspired and motivated after hearing him speak, and you're going to look at the areas in your business that you can really grow yourself right now. So I'm really excited for you to hear from him today. Now, Mandy is in the industry. Mandy is somebody who I know is so many of you are going to resonate with. She's such a beautiful soul and somebody who has been through what I feel many of our listeners are going through right now. That feeling of I'm a mum, I have responsibility, and I'm too scared and don't feel like I've got what it takes to grow a successful business, let alone where to start. Well, Mandy has walked that road herself, and she shares that journey openly and honestly. She's also built a very successful business, and she teaches today social media to those people that need to grow a business using this incredible online tool. Mandy is passionate about what social media can do, and most importantly, she's passionate about and extremely skilled at growing online communities. And during this episode, Mandy speaks about how to grow an online community that builds all important relationships that grow your business. So I know you're going to love this episode. I absolutely recommend you get that pen and paper out, because these two amazing individuals drop a load of golden nuggets along the way that you are going to want to jot down. So get ready, tune on in, and enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome back into the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. My name is Sam, and I'm super excited about this interview today because I'm not joined by just one very special guest. I'm joined by two very special guests today, and I know that you're going to love to hear not only their stories, but the amazing wisdom that they are going to impart on us today. So I would love to introduce you to Steve Wiltshire and Mandy Mitchell. Welcome on in, guys.
Yay!
Thank you for having us.
Such a pleasure.
Pleasure
And
to
I'm
be here.
super excited to have you guys here. I have had the pleasure of chatting with you and getting to know you over the last few weeks. And I can't wait for our listeners to hear a little bit from you today. So how about we start with you, Steve? Do you want to share with
I want to
everybody?
first of all spend a moment and acknowledge the work that you're doing. You and your husband are so funny. I have had so much fun watching your YouTube channel and noticing you really bring a lot of fun into serious subjects. And your podcast, a great resource for any organization that really wants to support their team. In fact, I'm going to be talking about that today. The promoter, the promoter just saves so much time by sharing other resources. They have more time for family and life, and great podcast, great place for everybody to be. You're doing great work, my friend, making a huge, huge difference in this industry and the world at large. I acknowledge you.
Oh, thank you, Steve. Well, look, we have a lot of fun doing this, and Greg and I certainly, a sense of humor is a really big part of not just our relationship, but what we do. And I think I explained to you that's essentially our go-to to help build the relationship with people, which is great, and we love that. So, plus we're Australian. Let's face it, all Australians have got a very dry, sarcastic sense of humor.
I love it.
I have to say, though, I like that you guys appreciate it because I've got to pull myself back and restrain a little when I speak. I find to a lot of, we speak with many people in the US these days, and they don't all understand that dry, sarcastic sense of humor. And there are times where things that I say tongue in cheek get taken rather seriously, and I have to pull
Well,
myself.
we need to get a life. We need to lighten up, right?
Well, let's have a bit of fun today, and
We
certainly
will.
we'll bring the sense of humor into the episode. So, Steve,
Yes, we will, for sure.
look, I love the fact you've been an entrepreneur since you were 17 years old. You've been in the
Mhm.
direct selling industry yourself for many years. You've held over 5,000 events, which I'm sure you'll tell everybody a little bit about. And in addition to that, you yourself had, now let me get this right, you built a $19 million year while in the industry. Did I get that right?
Yeah, right. Really transitioned early 2000s. So the last 4 years didn't quite hit that 20 million, but $19 million the last four
Yeah,
years
you're gonna
back
have
in
to
the
give
90s.
give that a harder go, won't you, Steve? So tell us a little bit about you. How have you got to where you are today? Who is Steve? Let's tell our listeners a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, I started the industry at 17 years old, and kind of the joke with my family was I couldn't hold a job, and I just didn't like working for someone else. And I used to say to my mom and dad, it's not fun. Like my mom was like, you got to hold a job. I mean, you're not going to, if you can't do that, work at a restaurant, hold a job, then what are you going to do with your life? Well, a friend of mine jumped into direct sales my high school year. And I thought, what a great way to learn how to get comfortable doing presentations, getting in front of people. And the truth is, I failed miserably the first 5 months. I really struggled. But good fortune brought me this incredible leader that tucked me under my wing and under her wings. And she had a leading organization in our company. And I mean, she didn't even know me. And a month later, she's coming to my graduation. It just speaks volumes, right? And so I remember calling her one day and just saying, I am out of leads. I have tried everything. It's just not working for me. And she said, would you plan on leaving? I said, well, no, but how do I create leads? And she said, well, Steve, I've invited you to go on several events. And what's kept you from going? That's how you're going to learn the business, shadowing. And I remember my, young mentality. I was like, wow, this is just like learning an instrument, right? Or just like learning a role in a play. And I thought, why don't I just need to go on events? So I went on 8 events within about 2 weeks. And all of a sudden things started changing for me. And at the time I started college, I was working 35 hours a week in a restaurant. And I just started blowing up my business and personal sales and personal sponsoring, and ended up getting to the end of the year. And I can just tell all of you listening that I don't know that I ever felt that confident in my life, being able to go to college and do the business. And the more I did the business, the less I enjoyed college. And so that's when everything started to turn around for me. And I eventually became a top recruiter for my company by the time I was 20, continued that pathway, and then started building a strong organization. And when we look at this industry, it really comes down to 3 words, right? What we believe, right? Our philosophy, how we approach people, and also systems. And so I have a question for all of you. Like, what is your main force of building a business? What's your main focus? It's always got to be practice. Don't you find that we live in a time where people want to wing it? And it's just like being in a play, having a role in a play. You practice, and then you let go of it the night before and you step into it. And it's not what you learn. It's definitely what you practice. So yeah, I hired my first coach in 1998. And I remember having this experience unlike anything else in my life. And she asked me these questions I'd never thought of. And all of a sudden I'm writing a book, and then I'm writing another book, and then I'm getting a certification and coaching. And then I'm going through Tony Robbins' speaking program. And after about 2.5 years, I didn't really know that it would really work, but I just kept on it, and none of my leaders knew. And all of a sudden, I started this coaching practice and a speaking company in 2003, and ended up hiring several coaches, and it just kind of took a life of its own. And now we've been very successfully helping thousands of leaders in our $1 million protege leadership program build thriving teams. And it's been just the joy of my life. It's been a lot of
Awesome. And I love hearing, I've had a chance to speak with both of you multiple times, and there are some people where you not just hear, but you can feel the passion in what they do, and
fun.
it's like that with you guys. So I love what you do. I love that you are so
Yeah.
passionate about this industry, and that you're passionate about helping others as well to grow thriving, successful businesses. So I can't wait for you to give a little bit of, I guess, some tips and tricks, etc., today for our listeners to take on
Can I
board.
ask you a question?
Yeah.
When COVID hit in 2020, I had 68 events scheduled,
Mm,
and all of a sudden that was taken away from me. They canceled and rescheduled, and then several canceled. And I can't tell you how much I missed the in-person experience.
yeah. Yep.
Just taking people through that 6.5, 7 hour day of how to transform their life and how to transform their business. And what was it like for you?
Oh, look, we were the same. We went from a period of, at that stage, we were every weekend, we were flying interstate to an event. And so we'd
Yeah.
done 6 weeks in a row. As you know, we've got 4 kids. So we would fly out on the Friday, we'd get back on the Sunday, and then we would do it all again the next weekend. We did 6 weeks
Yeah,
in a row, and
right.
we had another 4 weeks lined up
Mhm.
when lockdown happened here, which would have been a different time, I think, to you guys, but it was about March, a couple of years ago now. And my husband just had a feeling. So Greg sort of went, look, something's going down. I need to set up a studio at home. And so he called a friend and got him out. And in 3 days, they built a replica studio to this one inside of our shed, a little pod. And the day that they finished the work on it, the lockdown got announced. And
Wow.
so we were able, for the events that we were supposed to fly into, we were able to convert those speaking events into online and still provide that.
That's what we did too. We did
Yeah,
virtual events.
which was huge. But
So many moving pieces, right?
yeah,
Leaders meeting with their teams,
yeah,
and they're in their living rooms,
yeah.
and it was just absolutely crazy. But oh
It was
gosh, it was such
a
a lot
beautiful
more worth
time in a
it.
way because we saw a lot of people grow. So we got the chance to see people forced into a situation where they had to take everything online. And we thought, as the DSA and many others thought, there's going to be so many people just flop here. They're going to leave the business. It's not going to work. But the amount of people that rose up and actually embraced it just made my heart sing. It was just so beautiful to watch. And we got to be a part of that. But I miss
Mhm.
in person so much. So we
Wow.
started speaking in person again a few months ago. Had our first event where we actually got on one of those things with wings and we headed over to the event. And as you know, we're heading over to Sydney and then the US and then to the Gold Coast all in consecutive weeks in 3 weeks' time. So we're going to be speaking at
Exciting,
events all over, which is going to be really exciting to get back into seeing people face to face and being able to
right?
touch them in the appropriate sense where you hug them. I mean, it's
Oh yeah, when something's taken away, we really appreciate it, right?
yeah, that's exactly right. So
Mhm.
it's good because it's shown us how to be grateful for those things. But I
Yeah.
want to jump over to Mandy for a little sec. So Mandy, you are in the I want to say in the trenches, but that's the wrong. I feel like that makes it sound like you are in the industry, right? You are working in direct sales at the moment. You are passionate about what you do, but most importantly, you've built a successful business utilizing social media and you're on teaching that to others as well. And I know that you're really passionate about others having a business in this space and being able to do that beautiful work-life balance with family and running a successful business and having it all. So do you want to share a little bit with everybody about your journey?
I would love to. So, Sam, I started in direct sales over a decade ago, about 12 years ago. And a lot of people don't believe me when I tell them this, but back then I did not talk to people I didn't know. I am naturally a really introverted, what people would describe as shy type of a person. And at the time, having a direct sales business was really far out of my very small comfort zone. At the time, I was really looking to be a stay at home mom. My boys were toddlers at the time, and I loved the job that I worked, but there was no growth opportunity. I worked all the time. I would never make more money, and we were broke all the time, quite frankly. At that time, I decided working all of this time, being away from my kids all of this time, it's not worth it. I want to be with my kids. I want to experience all the mom moments. And I knew that if I was to be a stay-at-home mom, I needed a reason to leave the house. I was so introverted then that if I did not have a really good reason that supported my family to leave the house, I wouldn't do it. I would socialize with my sisters, with a couple of friends that I've had since I was a teenager, and I would be a homebody. When I started direct sales, it was really to give me a little extra money and to help me meet new people and force me to get out of the house. And that's really fed my passion to help other people, other women especially, to know that they can start a direct sales business and make it fit whatever lifestyle they want it to fit. Not all people in direct sales want to have $1 million company, want to walk across the stage. Not everyone has those large of goals. Some people want it just to give them new friendships, to help them grow as a human, to help them pay for the sports and activities that their kids want to do. And my goal and my passion is to really help each individual learn what they want their business to look like at this point in their life and to help them get there.
Yeah, I love that.
Because our businesses also change when our lives change, right? What started as a hobby for me, a way to get out of the house, turned into a full-time income quite quickly. Then it turned into a team building income, and then it has grown from there. And I never imagined, 12 years ago when I started, that I would be on a podcast or coaching other people outside of my company or doing webinars or any of that. But here I am.
I love that. And I love that you're so honest as well about where you're at, because I think that this is such a common thing for so many. I'm going to say women out there. I know that there are certainly some men that go through that same experience, but I know for women that have got that, I'm going to call it for some people, the mummy guilt factor, which is I need to be a mum, therefore I need to put my career on hold in order to do that well. And that feeling of not feeling like you're a part of the community in a sense anymore because you're at that stage in your life. I think that's a really big thing, and I love that you shared that, Mandy. And I know a lot of our listeners will probably hear that and go, right, well, but how did you get from there to that stage where you were able to jump onto a podcast or speak to people at an event? And I'm sure that we'll get there in a moment as well, but thank you for sharing that. So, Steve, just want to jump to you for a sec. You're a mindset coach, and that is something that you've used to help leaders time and time again grow in their business. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so let's have some fun with this. I got a question for everybody listening. What is the number one goal, outcome, intention that you have for your business over the next year? What would you love to attract and make real in your life? How do we make that happen? Well, when we start to really strategize and start to get clarity, things start to happen, right? We have to get clear about what we want, why we want it, And then we need a strategy to make it happen. And if you don't know what you want and we don't know why we want it, we broadcast confusion to the universe. What we put out in thought circulates back in mind and like kind, right? Thoughts held in mind duplicate in like kind. Where the mind goes, we tend to follow. And so desire is I look back and think of like what it was like at 17 and 18 in direct sales. I never really knew what a goal was. I remember when my first leader invited me to go to a Zig Ziglar seminar. I said,
Yep.
what is a Zig Ziglar seminar? She goes, oh, you don't know who Zig Ziglar is? And that's what's so great about this industry, right? You make money while you are training, while you are growing your business. And that's the beautiful part of it. It's all self-development. And so desire is the beginning stage. And then vision is born from desire. Vision and desire are like heaven, right? Meaning it's very esoteric, but the intention is born from vision. And that's our ability to start to strategize and start to look at what's the blueprint, what's the roadmap going to look like. So manifestation, when you study manifestation, it's when desire and belief match. And often the desire isn't the difficult part. The belief is the difficult part. So when we start to design a strategy, and this is why I think when people have come into this industry and have a really great upline, often that is something that's happening, right? They're experiencing these small wins, and these small wins elevate our belief. And that's when we start to see things come to fruition. So Tony Robbins talks often about the three S's. The state of mind is the place that we want to be in, whether we want an ideal body or we want an ideal relationship or we want to attract an ideal income or an ideal career. And when we see people on stage that have this state of mind that they're in, but the story that we tell ourselves is usually the thing that gets in the way. And we make it true, but it's not true. But when we believe it, that's what will manifest. And the strategy is what changes the story. So it's fun stuff, helping people start to elevate. I call it, the frontal lobe is a very powerful part of our brain. It's 40% of a human being's brain. And I call it the free will gift from our creator. And scientists say that it has the ability of 1 trillion megabytes, and most human beings are walking around with 2,000. And think about our industry. Like that's what we do. We help people shift their thinking. We elevate the consciousness in humanity.
Such
I love
a
what we're about.
powerful point you make there, Steve. And this industry is, like we've talked about that passion for this industry and what it does for people, but it's not about the money as much as it is about that personal growth. So I love that you bring that up because some of the most unbelievably, I guess, enlightened individuals that I've met over the last 20 years have been people that have come from this industry because of the
Oh, that gives me
amazing
goosebumps.
training.
It's so true, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. So I want to come back to Mandy for a moment. Now, Mandy, you're obviously working in the industry. You've grown a successful business. You've utilized social media to do that. And you've talked about decisions. You've talked about how you made that decision yourself to step out of that comfort zone. Can you share a little bit about, what would be a really important decision for people to make that want to be successful in this industry?
I love this question, Sam. And quite frankly, if I was to say there's one thing that direct sellers need to master to grow currently, it is social media. The way that our industry is growing, our industry is growing in a way that we've never seen before. And you guys touched on COVID and the pandemic a little bit earlier in the podcast. And like you said, Sam, so many people just grew and our industry grew greatly through COVID, through the pandemic. And I love that people are growing on social media. They're learning how to master social media in a way that allows them to work their business in small chunks of time a day. So their business is no longer taking over their life. They are working their business around the life that they are designing. And we'll have a free gift for everyone at the end of this podcast. And that free gift is going to give you a blueprint on how to master social media. Mm-hmm. And that's the number one thing everyone can do. Master social media, grow a business where you can connect with people all over the world, not just in your local area.
Yeah, awesome. So we've spoken a little bit about COVID and that big change that happened. I think everyone's probably so overhearing about this, but I do want to just touch on Steve, the fact that we had all of these changes happen and we were really used to doing things a certain way, particularly it's industry that's been around for decades. And everyone sort of was in a bit of a routine of this is just what I do. But in the last 2 years, we've all had to, and sorry to use that overused word, but we've all had to pivot and change what we're doing. So in your experience with all the people that you're working with now, because again, you're working with so many top leaders across many companies in the direct selling industry, what are you noticing is working for them now?
Yeah, first of all, I will never forget what happened to me, and probably the same thing with you, Sam, right? In March of 2020, my phone blew up. Excuse me. It blew up. And, I'm used to going to the gym every day. That closed. Everything just changed. And all of a sudden, I'm on the phone like 12, 14-hour days, like talking to clients and members that I hadn't talked to for years. And they were so in the state of fear at the beginning. Like, what do I do? What do I do? And especially those that were very much engaged in personal or I'll say live business, right? Whether it was a trade show or a party or having events, they were having a difficult time. But I watched everything just shift so quick. I mean, we had courses, Mandy and one of our other coaches and I have done, hundreds of webcasts. And so we ended up just starting to look at like, what can we do to help people like you? Like we just started looking at, excuse me, what can we do to help people? We even started an online community, like a complimentary online community for leaders to help them pivot during COVID. But our industry was phenomenal. I mean, we indirectly took business from retailers, business from online companies. What does that mean? Retailers are sending out emails with sales. Online businesses are sending out emails and texts about buying something. I don't have my phone with me, but we picked up that phone and we sent text messages to customers saying, how are you doing?
Yeah.
How are you doing? Are you working from home now? How are your kids? We know the heart of how to connect with people. And it was like this magic that happened. I mean, we have this built-in matrix network to feed off people. And I couldn't believe the numbers we became the entertainment. A lot of network marketers, I think, don't often see the value of virtual events. Mandy's going to talk about that in a little bit, but you can make anything fun. And that's what I acknowledged you about in the beginning, Sam, right? Like how you can make social media super fun and make any serious subject super fun. And we do know the number one decision direct sellers can make right now is to master social media. I've had hundreds of people that have hired me, leaders that have had challenges with their being up and down in their businesses. And a lot of new leaders, or we'll say leaders with modest teams that had been not really had support from uplines. And I kind of started talking about this earlier, that the number one decision leaders can make to build a thriving team is to be a promoter. And maybe I didn't mention that earlier, but like what I know, I'm going to be promoting a lot of Sam's trainings because they support leaders in seeing that they don't have to do everything. We're either the trainer or we're the creator or we're the promoter. And the greatest decision a leader can make in our industry is to be an extraordinary promoter. So let's shed some light on that. We know we train, right? We train. And how well do leaders do, or you do, leaders listening, at leading people to training? Your upline, your company, are you aware of that? Do you have a text service like Scipio or Project Broadcast? It's the greatest way to lead people to great training. We onboard. I think a lot of leaders want to actually take on a lot of those roles. And so that's why they work these excessive hours. And in onboarding, what's your upline have? What's the company have in place? Now we know no one's going to coach them through it, but do you promote that? Opportunity events. We live in an instant access world and we can record really great. Well, there were recordings of great messages that share the business opportunity. I'm not talking about a 3 or 5 minute video. I'm talking about somebody that expresses interest and you're saying, hey, last week, or I have a great video that shares the story of XYZ company, what we're all about. And it could give you an opportunity to sit down, watch it. And would you like me to send it to you? Absolutely. When will you listen to it or watch it? Friday night. Great. I'll send it to you. And how about if we circle back? But when you start to really think through that mindset of the promoter, there's really 5 activities. We train, we sponsor, we onboard, we coach. And that's the thing that no upline's going to do for you. And then there's often with companies, leadership development. And so I love to help people create a leveraged life. And I have found that clients can just go from 60 hours a week to a good 30, 35 hours a week by just leveraging social media, leveraging what each one of you two do super well at, which is social media. And it's, don't you love coaching? I love helping people.
And I love what you've brought up there too, Steve. There's 2 things you mentioned. I just want to circle back to the first thing you said, which was that when everything changed, instead of jumping straight to promoting, which is what all the retail businesses were doing, you guys reached out and you made it about building the relationship. And I just want to stop on that for a sec and the importance and the power of that, because this is what makes our business so special. We've got something in this industry that others don't have, and that's relationship. And one of the things that we repeat, I feel like, till we're blue in the face, because I want people to get this and I just want them to hear what you said there, is the fact that people are not buying your product from you. They're buying you. And when you build that relationship, when you make that relationship more important than the product that you're selling, the sales, the team, all of that will become a result of that relationship building. And so, I think a lot of people put that pressure on themselves to be constantly selling, which can be scary, because you end up having to face the fact that from time to time you're going to get a no, and that no feels like a rejection. But if you lead with the relationship and just connecting, then selling happens as a byproduct rather than the thing that you're leading with. So I really, really love that. The other thing that I noticed as well, Steve, that you were talking about was the fact that, and those leaders listening and those that aspire to be a leader hear this, you are not going to be successful if you try to be everything. And
Yes.
and this I'm a true believer of, and this is why we pull guests into this podcast. And, Mandy, you teach social media and I teach social media. Some people could look at that and go, hey, this is competitive. What's going on here? But there are different people that have got different skills and strengths. And I remember Richard Branson said he doesn't hire people for anything other than to fill the gap where he needs someone to be better than him. So he hires people better than he is in a particular area because he knows he can't be all to everyone. So I really love that, Steve. I love the fact that you're talking about
I love that
leaning
quote. Yeah,
into
it's
other
true.
people's skills. So, yeah.
I mean, can you believe the virtual events? Like, I have clients that have multi-million dollar teams that still are doing a weekly virtual event with 5 hosts and hitting $3,500 to $5,000 40 events, massive people shadowing them. And I remember when I just said, you know what? Why not jump in? Why not do it? I get it that you don't do a lot of personal business because you're leading, but this is the easiest way to leverage your time and have had expansive growth. But going right back to it, the essence itself is relationship building and creating these extraordinary experiences for people, just like themes, right?
Yeah.
It's been phenomenal. This industry is just blowing up. And, frankly, keeping the world in democracy,
Yeah. Yeah.
free enterprise.
Yeah. And this is it, we've interestingly, we've just been trying to hire some staff, and it's getting harder and harder to do that now because people realize, that having your own business is not as hard as it once was. And certainly what I do and what you guys do, well, not so much you, Mandy, because you're in the industry now, but, running a business where you don't have a company supporting you and doing the marketing for you and providing you with all of this incredible training
Right.
is really tough. And there are times I look at it and go, man, sometimes I just wish I was back in the industry on the ground running. And I get a little jealous when we go to a conference. You probably feel the same way, Steve, I'm sure, when you're speaking to all these people and you're looking at them in their seats going, in some way, I kind of wish I was sitting in that seat over there right now and I was able to absorb all of this
I miss it.
amazingness. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to come back to you, Mandy, for a moment
You're
because
such a good interviewer, great recapper, like great, valuable, helping people deepen the understanding so they can forward the action. Well done.
yeah. So Mandy, I want to talk to you now about communities because you are really passionate about and very, very good at building thriving online communities. So do you want to share with us a little bit
You're our
about,
rock star community.
yeah, so I want to talk about this. Share with us a little bit about how you do this and what's working right now.
The number one thing in building an online community is building a community, not a VIP group. And we've all heard VIP group, VIP group, VIP group across the industry. I would venture all of the companies train VIP group. The difference, and I know there are people listening thinking, what is the difference?
Yeah.
The difference is a VIP group is an advertisement.
Mm-hmm.
It's a place people go to shop. It's a place people go when they need your product.
Mm-hmm.
A community. A community is also a private group. But in a community, people are going there for the value.
Love that.
You're looking at, and you guys touched on this really well, you're looking on building relationships, building connection, providing value, knowing who your ideal customer is, who you're trying to attract to that community, and then you build relationship, you build connection, you build trust with them.
Mm-hmm.
We are at a time in our industry where people, and in the world, people do not shop with someone just because. They shop with someone because they trust that person, because they like that person. And you nailed it when you said you have to sell yourself first. People are not buying your product, they're buying you. That's what the online community is about, to build that relationship, to build that connection, to provide value to people without them having to pay you money. Because when people have to pay you money to get any value from you, they feel used.
Yeah.
That's why in a good online community, you are directly discussing your product or your company maybe 10% of the time. The rest of the time, you're feeding what your ideal customer wants in information, in education, in positivity. And you're making this great environment where people come because they love it there. Every time they get on social media, what they want to do is to see what's happening in your community.
Yeah.
What they want to know is, what did you post? Who's talking in there? What's happening? And what that does is it keeps you in the front of a person's mind. So when they're ready to shop, because everyone listening, think, how often do people shop with you in a year? In most companies, it's a few times a year. But we want them, when they think of, oh, I need more of this product, we want you to come to mind, not the product. Because let's face it, every single direct sales company out there, every single multi-level marketing company out there, people can get replacements for our products at stores.
Yeah.
They may not be the same quality, and most of the time they're not the same quality, right? But they're easy to get.
Yeah.
So if we don't build really strong relationships with people, when they need that makeup or hair product or vitamins or candles, we need them to think about the person, not the product, because the product takes them to Target, takes them to Amazon, takes them to your company website, not to you directly.
Yeah.
So it's all about relationship building.
Yeah, I love that. That's so powerful. I love what you're saying as well as about community versus VIP group, and even for me, that's a little bit of an eye opener because and you're right. I would say most companies train on VIP groups and then team groups. So communication between team and of course then separately communication with customers. And the key difference, and one of the greatest questions we get asked from people is, what's the difference? What should I be doing differently in my VIP group to my business page? And it's a really difficult one because when you say VIP group, and I think you really hit the nail on the head there, Mandy, people are assuming that it's a promotional space. And so they're thinking, well, how is that different to my business page? But when you use that word community, it really changes that context and that feeling about the whole group as well. So if someone's sitting there thinking right now, well, but how do I set up a community versus a VIP group? Can you give a couple of little tips on what that could look like and how they might set something up that's not all about promoting product and sales and specials and opportunities?
I would love to. And this is perfect timing because I just did a training on this exact subject on Monday, yesterday.
Awesome.
So the main thing to think about is when someone is in your online community and they're going to tell their friend about your community, what are the 3 things you want them to say?
Yeah.
So if I was to say, Sam, you need to join this online community. It's really fun. It has great information on how to get your kids to behave better or whatever. What are the 3 things you want people to get from your community? That's the first thing. The second thing is, exactly who is your ideal customer or your avatar? And what we find, and I'm sure that you have experienced this as well, is that when we ask direct sellers, who's your ideal customer? Most of them have a response that feels like it comes from their company. And it's typically something like one of our community members the other day told me anyone from the age of 3 to 80 years old
Oh,
that
yeah.
wants to improve their health, right? So it's something really broad.
Mm,
And while everyone's products are applicable to a really broad range of people, we cannot connect really well with a broad range of people.
yeah.
So we have to narrow that down. So when you're looking to determine who your ideal customer is, I like to tell people, think about if you could create, like you're going to Build-A-Bear, and I'm assuming that they have Build-A-Bear shops all over the world where you can build this custom toy, right?
Yeah.
But we're going to build a best friend. So you get to go into this place and design your best friend. Who is that person you would want to hang out with? Who is that person that you would want to talk on the phone with, that you would go get a glass of wine with, have game nights with, that you want to know?
Yeah.
Who exactly is that person? How old are they? What is their family makeup? What is their gender? What are their hobbies? Everything about them you want to know. Because when you design that ideal customer, that ideal best friend, and I say best friend because you want to attract people that you want to be around, right? Our goal is to attract people, build a community around us that is full of people that we want to be around.
Yeah.
So when you know exactly who that person is, you know exactly what kind of information to share with them that they will find valuable, what kind of things they will find fun and entertaining, what might motivate them, what kind of stories to share. But you have to know who that ideal customer is. And then the last piece in really getting that community really valuable is sharing a variety of types of posts in that community and utilizing, if you're building a community on Facebook, utilizing Facebook Live.
Yeah.
You need to be live in a community at least weekly, if not more. And then you need to have at least 5 types of posts. I like to have them be educational posts, positive or motivational posts, connection building posts, fun posts, and then the last one is your business or product.
Yep.
But you have to have that variety. Otherwise, people stop coming. If you're only doing educational posts, if you're only doing your business posts, if you're only doing a lot of motivation, then you only hit one piece of what this group of people need.
Yeah.
So you have to have a lot of variety and know exactly who you're talking to.
Yeah. So
And you go
good.
into it a lot in the free complimentary program.
Mm-hmm.
Your, what is the URL? Your social media blueprint.com.
Yoursocialmediablueprint.com. And we
Yeah.
do give some great techniques on building an online community in that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a great,
I mean, that
great resource.
leads into that next question here. And I love everything that you've just said there, Mandy. And I completely agree with you on all of that. And anyone that's listened to half of one of my podcasts knows how passionate we are about identifying your ideal customer and the importance of that. So I'm so glad that you touched on that. But I also love what you were saying about that variety and that tip to, what are the 3 things that you want people to say about you is so powerful. I love that. Because that really gets you thinking about the value rather than the product. And I think that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Just like the reach of a Facebook ad or a YouTube ad,
yeah.
right? Like when you start to think about the intelligence of a media buyer, which is what they are, right? For YouTube, that's how you're able to find that audience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting when you start to dive into the psychology behind it and people really understand. Like I'm thinking of Mandy, you know her, Alexa.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, why not? It's like a client of ours that she was broke at one point in her life, and she studied Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman, and she helps women take charge of their own strong economy. And she has the most incredible tips on money. And people just flock to sharing her community. It has nothing to do with direct sales at all. But the value that she gives them in that community just keeps inviting members in. And she'll do $40,000 a year just in 2 flash sales.
Yeah.
And other than that, she's really not sharing much. Pretty fascinating.
Love that. And so, Steve and Mandy, I mean, you guys have mentioned a couple of times that you've got a free gift for our listeners, and you both work together. You do such an incredible job of building people up and helping them succeed in this business. I love hearing all of the wisdom that comes from you and everything that you're doing. So, do you want to share with our listeners just very quickly as we wrap up? We've got our 4 fun questions we always ask, so I want to get to those as well. But share a little bit about your free gift and also what's the process that you use to help people to substantially increase their business? How do you serve?
Mandy, go ahead and share.
I would love to. Now, our free gift, you can find it if you are listening and you just want to know where to find it. The URL is yoursocialmediablueprint.com. And this free gift is a free webinar that you can watch. You can watch it multiple times if you like, and it covers 5 key areas of growing on social media. It talks about how to actually utilize social media, the basics of social media. A lot of people get stuck on some things that those of us that have been on social media a long time forget are challenging for other people.
Yep.
So you're going to learn the basics, the ins and outs, the updates, because we all know that social media is going to be different in a week than it is today. They change things all the time. You're going to learn about using your personal profile on social media. You're going to learn how to build relationships, how to grow an amazing online community, how to have events, virtual events that are profitable, fun, and duplicatable. Our goal with events is that you learn how to do events that when you grow your team member can join today and be able to do one of these events in a few days.
Yeah.
That's the type of events we're looking at. And then one of the most important areas, in my opinion, is productive social media marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times we talk to people, or sometimes we find ourselves doing this, where we've been on social media for an hour. And what have we done? Nothing.
Biggest
Nothing,
rat
right?
warren
Because you
ever.
get in the
Right?
scroll
Oh,
trap,
no,
right?
that's right.
Yeah. You
I'm not a
start
good
watching some reels,
follower.
or you watch some TikToks or things like that, and you get sucked in.
Yeah.
We like to train you on how to do social media in small chunks of time every day. So 15-minute chunks of time, which allows the mom with toddlers to be able to squeeze in some time while the kids are playing, or the person that has a 9 to 5 job to squeeze in working their business during their lunch break or before they leave the parking lot to go home.
Mm-hmm.
Our goal is to help you learn how to grow your business on social media, do it in the time that you have, and to leverage the time that you're spending on your business so you are getting the results you want without having social media and your business overwhelm your life.
Yeah. I love that. Awesome. So
Let's
guys,
go on to the fourth question. Because we've shared a lot, and
well, we're gonna
everybody's gonna get a lot of value from your social media blueprint.com. And I love your 4 questions, girl.
so we're going to get to those now. Just really quickly, everyone, we'll pop the link as well to that in the show notes. So if you are watching this, you want to grab that, you can get that there as well. So thank you for sharing that, guys. That's awesome. So let's get to those questions. So here's the first question that we love to know from both of you. What's your favorite book for us to add to our accelerator book list? And by the way, there's no limits here. It can be fun reading or it can be development and growth. So hit us with it.
Maddie?
I'll go first. A big passion of mine is learning how to communicate effectively with people. And one of the books that I found really impactful on that subject is Everyone Communicates, Few Connect by John Maxwell.
Okay.
It is a fabulous book. There's obviously a lot of great communication books out there, but this is one that I just came across it in an online reading list or something. It wasn't one that I had been recommended. And I thought, that book that hasn't gotten enough credit.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to read it and learn how to communicate.
Yeah, I love that.
Learn
So
how to
good. I'm going to have
connect.
to check that one out for sure. So what about you, Steve?
You know, I have 2 favorite books, but the one I want to talk to you about is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gray, who wrote the book Eat, Pray, and Love. I will say I've been on hundreds of podcasts with my other brand, and when I get to meditation, they don't want to get off that subject. And I'm just going to tell everybody, your soul is 2 steps ahead of you. Whether you want to call it God, Jesus, Buddha, higher self, universe, inner guidance system. And I can't believe the things I attract in my life. They just show up. And it's because I'm tapping in, I'm tuning in. And that book will throw you for a loop, because what you think it's going to be in the beginning turns into something completely different. The inspiration is constantly trying to find you. Yeah. And this is what, I've witnessed with so many people in my clientele, just like even Sam and her husband, thinking, I'd love to have a conversation with you about how this whole vision was born. Big Magic, Elizabeth Gray.
I love that. Actually, it reminds me of a book that I've just finished. I don't know if you guys have heard of this one. It's called Way of the Peaceful Warrior. Have you heard of this by Dan Millman?
I have.
Oh,
Such an
I gotta get
amazing
it.
book, and it's
Mhm.
just so much about that inner soul, that inner yeah, loved it. And if you haven't read that one, guys, it was one that was recommended by
Wow.
somebody on this podcast 2 years ago, and I've had it sitting on my bookshelf since, because whenever a book gets recommended, I jump in, grab a copy, and it goes on the
Absolutely.
list. And we often gift them out as well. And it was one of those ones that I sent to somebody as a gift, and that person came back and said they loved it so much they bought 200 copies and they sent them out to
Oh,
everyone in their team. And they said the ripple effect
oh,
of
that
that
gives me
was huge.
goosebumps.
Yeah,
I love
so
that.
good. Really good one. So, yeah, thank you for that. So that was Big Magic and Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. So love those
Mhm.
books. Right. Next question. We'll go with you first, Steve. If you could have any superpower, what would it be
Mm.
and why?
It would be to be psychic.
To
And
be
I'll tell you why.
psychic.
I remember watching this YouTube video years ago, and I'm at the gym holding back the tears. I mean, I literally had to go in the corner because um, this video represented someone walking into a restaurant and seeing everybody's pain and the
Hmm.
compassion and empathy that we would feel to be able to help people that they have the game face on.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about this industry, because I had a phrase in my organization that I go in and make it better and leave. I'm not there to share a product or show a product. I'm there to give them an incredible break from the hustle and bustle of life
Yeah.
and to hang out with friends and enjoy the real important things in life, relationship. And so I would love to be able to see people's thoughts and be able to mirror them and to connect with them. I love that
I
question.
love that. That's so good. So, Mandy, what about you? Same question. If you could have any superpower, what would that be and why?
First, I love Steve's answer, and I have to tell your audience that Steve and I did not discuss these questions before now, so I didn't hear his answer until now. But it goes kind of along the same lines as my answer. My superpower, if I could pick any superpower ever, would be to be able to look at somebody and know what their personality type is and what their communication style is. And several years ago,
Such a good one. I love that.
I really dove into learning more about personality types and communication, how different personalities communicate differently. And it's been a game changer in not only in my personal life, but in my coaching practice, in my direct sales business as well, knowing these personality types
Mhm.
and what they tend to do and how they tend to communicate or not communicate is really impactful. And being able to see that on every person
Yeah.
right away could make life so much smoother.
Wouldn't it ever? Yeah. So much smoother, and in every relationship. And isn't it
Hmm.
just so fascinating that often the reason that we are struggling with communication with someone is simply because we communicate with them in the way that we want to be communicated with, not the way they do.
Truth.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And actually a really
You know,
good book for that. Sorry.
Mandy has been through, she became the ambassador of our Protege Gold program and then the ambassador of our um, $1 million Protege Leadership program, because she just, every year we just hire a coach and just keep working and working and working and growing, and was so active in our community. And it's interesting to be in this. I mean, you're such a great interviewer, Sam, and I'm just in this state of deja vu that she is one of the most has one of the most God, what do I want? How do I want to say this? You have transformed more than most anybody I have ever worked with, and I've worked with thousands of people.
Yeah.
You're always growing. You're always evolving. And for everyone that heard the beginning of your message, what a gift to have heard the end of who you've become on this pathway. Like it's
It's
just
awesome.
incredible. And we all
Thank you,
have that
Steve.
ability.
Yeah. And it's so great as well to have someone who's been through that journey that's now imparting that on other people too. So that's really
Always
powerful.
growing.
I was just going to say as well that one of the books that helps with that whole personality side of things that we've talked about a few times and is definitely one of my favorite is The Five Love Languages. And a realization that I had, particularly in marriage with Greg and working with him every day, is this understanding that, we're constantly looking for love in the way that we want to, we're giving love in the way that we want to receive it. And that's just not how the same way that everyone else receives it. And so you end up feeling like, I'm loving you, but why aren't you getting it? I'm connecting with you, but why aren't you getting it? And they're going, all I want is for you to love me and connect with me. Anyway, it's just one of those crazy epiphanies that you have once you read that book and you're like, oh, I get it now. I understand. So I love that. That's a really great superpower. I think you've already probably got a little bit anyway. We'll jump to the next question, which is, what's your favorite quote, Mandy?
My favorite quote, and I don't know where it originally came from, is commit to the process, detach from the outcome.
Oh, that's a great one. I do love that.
Me.
It's
Protege. I love it. Oh, that's funny.
it's such a great quote and really speaks to the fact that in life, consistency pays off. In business, consistency pays off. But when we have that focus on that end goal for too long, or we're too focused on that end goal, we miss all these opportunities in life.
Yeah.
So just like when you put that address in your GPS, stop thinking about where you're going on your drive and enjoy the drive and get there.
Yeah. I actually had a really great friend, Oscar Trimboli, that jumped in and did a podcast episode with us a while ago, who said not only that, but he said his grandmother used to say to him every now and again, turn around and look at where you've come from. Stop focusing on the road ahead, look at where you are, enjoy the road that you're on, and every now and again just spin around and have a look at what's behind you. And that's so powerful. I love that one.
Yes.
What about you, Steve?
We have a theme happening between us three that is really valuable to all the viewers and listeners. And it's about really tapping in and tuning into people, like how the love languages, everything that we've been talking about for the last 5 minutes. I have 5 quotes, 5 that I've coined, and my favorite, I'm not going to share them all with you, but my favorite mantra quote is, the value I offer is always determined by the other person. And so it's my ability to tap into curiosity. I mean, even when I think about how my animals just love me and get me, because I know what they love. And listening is so close to being loved, most people can't tell the difference. So I'm always trying to tap into the intellect and the intuition, and constantly there are these clues that we have, even with people that we meet for just a short period of time.
Yep.
And that's what Mandy has studied. She has studied a lot of personality profiles. One of my friends and I we'll go to an event and we know these personality profiles. It's so funny. She'll say, she's a 4, she's a 7.
So the Enneagram is what you're referring to there with the numbers.
Oh my gosh. Look at how all 3 of us, we got this.
I know.
That's crazy.
We've talked about this a couple of times because I love the Enneagram. We've done a lot of disc profiling and we've done a lot of other stuff, but the Enneagram is so great. So if you haven't looked into it, you can do a free assessment online with it, and it's really, really eye-opening. But Steve and Mandy, what are your Enneagram numbers?
I'm a 4.
I'm a 9.
You're a 4 and you're a 9.
I'm a 4 with a 3 wing. That's why I create with an audience in mind. Isn't that interesting how we start to think, right? Yeah, Mandy.
I love that. And the 9's the peacemaker.
Yeah.
So I can
my
see that.
son and Lynn. Wow.
Love that.
I can see that.
So
What
good.
are you?
I'm an 8.
I would not guess that. You know why?
Right.
Because the healthier people are, it's harder to figure out. Yeah.
Yeah, right. There you go. Well, an 8 with a 2 wing. So, yeah.
I can see
No, I
that
feel like we
in
could
you.
do another podcast episode right now just talking about this. Love it. So, and if you, by the way, if you ask Greg, he'll go, no, she's an 8. She's fiery.
Yeah.
You just got to know the
I
right
love
people.
my 8 clients, man, because they're just, they say it straight. I love it
Yeah, they
straight.
get stuff
I love
done,
how
right?
straight they are. They just say it straight. Yeah.
Yeah. Not everyone loves that. I'm just going to put it out there.
I do. I do. Why would anybody
So,
not want that? Why do you want to figure it out? Like, I like, tell me what
yeah, so
you're
let's
feeling.
not
Tell
beat
me
around the
what you
bush,
want.
right?
Tell me what you need. I love that.
So last question, final question, probably my favorite is, and we'll start with you, Mandy. If you could go back in time and say one thing to your past self, Mandy, what would that be?
The one thing I would say to my past self, and I want to preface this by saying I've been through a lot of, just like everyone, I've been through a lot of struggles in life and a lot of really impactful moments that could have had a really negative spin on my life. And at the time, I went through with the mindset of what good is coming from this. Now, if I could go back, and I don't regret I'm not a person that has regrets in my life. Everything that happened, good or bad, has gotten me to where I am today.
Mm,
And if everything didn't happen exactly the way it did, I wouldn't be the person that I am today.
mm,
But I would still tell myself, don't listen to that voice in your head. That voice in your head that's trying to keep you stuck where you are today, that's telling you you're not ready, you're not good enough, you're not, that job's not for you, that opportunity's not for you,
yeah.
that you need to stay here and stay safe. Stop listening to that voice,
Yeah.
because that voice's job, we call it your gremlin a lot.
Well, I
Your
call it my
gremlin,
inner bully. I've done episodes
yes,
just on this voice, right? My inner
yes,
bully. Yeah.
it is only there to keep you stuck where you are today,
Yeah.
because it is comfortable with where you are today. It knows what
Mm-hmm.
to expect. It knows what's going to happen. And as a 9, it's been really challenging to battle that inner voice, because I don't like to get out of my comfort zone. My comfort zone is here. I'm
Yeah.
comfortable here. I like to know what's happening. I like to know what to expect.
Yeah.
But when I've told that voice that I'm not going to listen to it, and
Mm.
I go forward and I challenge that boundary, great things have always come from it.
Yeah. That's such a good one. I love
Mm.
that. Steve.
Mine's simple. Live your highest excitement. I remember going through my coaching certification and I was just wowed by this coach that was doing a whole module on self-expression and fulfillment coaching. And she said, it's easy to always think there's something to solve. And she said, when you can celebrate your client's successes, they'll create more of it. And she said,
Yeah.
empowered choices bring rich fulfillment that permeate into self-expressed aliveness. And I leaned forward and I said, what? Can you say that again? I'm going back like 30 years. And she just, I thought, wow, she said, think about it. When people are self-expressed and they're living their highest excitement, they feel fulfilled. And when they feel fulfilled, it's because they're making empowering choices. Know thyself, live a life that's true for you, and everything that you want, you will attract.
Yeah, so good. I love that so much. And look, guys, I know we have to wrap up
Oh, you're
now, but
amazing. What a
I've
fun interview.
it's been so much fun. And I feel like we've opened up a few little cans of worms there that we could have gone off on some fun tangents and kept going. So look, thank you so much both for joining us. I know it's late night there where you guys are. Obviously, one of the beauties of this world that we live in now is that through technology, there are no barriers, and I've been able to connect with you both, and of course, have our listeners connect with you. So, thank you so
I'm
much,
so grateful
Steve
for
and Mandy, for
today.
Thank
taking
you.
time out today.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been such a pleasure. So look, thanks as well, of course, to all of our listeners. So great to have you tuning in again today. And make sure that you go and grab that blueprint. We'll put the link in the show notes, of course, and reach out and connect with these guys if you want to know a little bit more and you want to find out a bit more about what they're about. Amazing little duo here. And I know that these guys have got a lot to impact this industry, as they have been doing for a long time. So thank you again so much for both honouring me with your time today.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you, Sam.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week, and we'll see you again on the podcast next week. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.